The fear of voter fraud at ballot drop box locations spurred a new law in Utah requiring video security at all outside locations. This drop box outside the front of the Washington County Administration Building is being monitored 24/7 this primary election as required by the new law.
So we have 5 large ballot boxes that are, cemented down to the ground. They're at the libraries here in St. George, in Santa Clara, and Hurricane in Washington. And then we have one here in our county administration building. The state law this year changed to make it that they all have to be video surveillance, and we've got cameras on them all.
Election officials for the 2022 June primary were prepared for voters no matter what the turnout this election. Prior to noon, voters heading to the Dixie Center to cast ballots began showing up at a fairly steady pace.
Today has been pretty solid. We've had,
not big lines of people,
but there's just groups and single people coming in throughout the day.
Lots of people bringing their children to show them what voting's all about. I think that's marvelous.
But we think we'll have decent turnout for a primary election. I guess it depends on who you listen to. I had somebody email me yesterday and say, if you get 15%, you're doing good. And I think we'll double that. But it won't be anything like the presidential.
Some turned out to cast their ballots for the first time after moving here from other states. While they weren't familiar with the voting process, they were easily guided by the many volunteers.
Well, you know what? Now I recognize that actually one vote, it individually does make a difference, because collectively, obviously, that one vote, comes together into many votes. So that's why I feel like now this time I really do have to get involved, and I need to continue to be involved.
Those who wished to vote in person had to spoil ballots received in the mail and cast new ones. This year's primary election in Utah was to elect who would move on to compete in the general election in November. Congressional seats for Utah's House of Representatives and Senate are also up for election this year. Despite the reasons they come to vote, many people agree that it's their right and their duty to be counted.
This is where we get to say, this is where
there's been some
democracy works.
School board things on other people's, depending on where they are.
And voters who cast their ballots by mail by the deadline can track their ballots on a special app provided by the state this year as well.
In the state law this year, they did make a new app that's called Ballot Tracks. If you're interested, you can go log in to find out when we have shown that we received your ballot. Now, these are the by mail ballots. These are not, if you go to the vote center, it's not going to work that same way. But it'll show you when we've received the ballot, and then later when we actually count tonight, it will show that we've counted your vote.
In Washington County, Melissa Anderson, Community Education News.